Thank you. Okay, so we're on Yud Gimel Amid Beis. Now we continue. We started talking about that you're allowed, whether you're allowed to attach. We had three opinions on whether you're allowed to make a full Tanakh. Torah, obviously talking about with Klaf. Torah, Nevi'im, and Ksuvim. Right, so you're allowed to tie if you're allowed to have them all together or not. Yeah. Now we continue with this did. So which was Amarav. No. Where do we get up to exactly? Yeah? I think Ben Chumash l'Chumash. I think that's what we're up to. Yeah, Ben Chumash l'Chumash shall Torah. Yeah, it's 5 lines up from the bottom. So Ben Chumash l'Chumash shall Torah arba shitim. Between every Chumash and the Torah, meaning between Bereshis and Shemais and Vayikra, etc., there's four lines. You have to have a space of 4 lines. V'chein bein kol navi l'navi, and between every one of the Sfarim and Navi, which obviously we're going according to the Shita that holds that you're allowed to combine all the Nevi'im together. V'chein bein kol navi l'navi, and the same thing between each and every Navi. Uva Navi shashneim asar Gimel Shitin, and the Navi of Trey Asar, at the end of Nevi'im, for those of us that are not aware, at the end of Nevi'im, there's 12, it's all considered part of Trey Asar, so really it's considered one Sefer, like we said yesterday. So, but there's 12 of them. So in between each one of those is three lines. And then you should finish off one Sefer of Nevi'im on the bottom, and then started at the top of the next page. All right, so those are the rules. Those are the rules about separating between different svarim in Nach. Somebody wants to attach Torah and Nevi'im and Ksuvim together, can. And at the top of meaning at the beginning of the klaf, you have to leave enough space that it has enough room to wrap around the pole, right? Because you keep a pole inside. That means you wrap the parchment around the pole, so you have to leave.
That's called an Atzei Chaim, what we would call that?
That's what we call Atzei Chaim, correct.
Okay.
But Shilas does a Chumash for sure needs it, as we're going to see. Shilas does the Nevi'im need it, so that's going to be a machlokes. But what the Gemara here is saying, this Gemara clearly going with the sheet that holds that you have to. Right? So you make a space enough at the beginning. Over Saifa, and at the end, and at the end, it needs to be bigger, seemingly bigger. It has to be able to, need enough space to wrap around the entire cloth, which would be a lot more. And when you finish a Sefer of Nach, you stop at the bottom and you start at the top. And if you want to cut it, meaning you made it into a Tanakh, so it's one volume, and you want to separate the volumes, or you want to separate each Sefer, so then what do? You're allowed to cut it. So Gemara says, Maika Amar, what are you saying? Right? There's nobody that holds that it can't be separated. It's just a shiloh whether it could be connected, but there's nobody who says that it can't be. Yeah. So my answer is what it means is that if you want to cut it, then you could cut it. Right? Meaning what the Gemara, the way Rashi explains it, is that we said that you have to have 4 lines, you have to have 4 lines in between each Navi and 3 lines in between each Sefer of the Trey Asar, right? So what it's saying is that if you finish at the end of a column, which is what you're supposed to do, then you don't need to have the 4 lines at the top of the column, because that's like a bizayon. In order to, you should start right at the top. It seems like indenting, which we do in America, you're supposed to indent. It seems like that's not proper. To indent is not proper. right? So that's what it means, that you should, if you can cut up one sefer from the other sefer, and then you don't have the 4 lines on the top, right? So I'm going to ask, Ramino asks Yisdira, Tchila sefer v'soifa kidei logol. The beginning and the end of every sefer, you need to have enough to put it around the wood. Meaning it's one measurement, the beginning and the end. So, and this Brisa just got finished saying that at the beginning, you just need enough blank parchment to go around the wood, but at the end, you need enough to go around the whole sefer. So Kidei Logol Mai, I just explained the Gemara before I said it. Kidei Logol Mai, what does it mean Kidei Logol? Kidei Logol Amud. If you're saying that it means enough to go around the Amud, the pole, Kasha Hekef. So you have a kasha from the hekif, because at the end it says you have to have enough to go all the way around. And ikadei logol hekif. And if it means that to go all the way around kasha amud, so you have a kasha meaning to go all the way around the entire klaf, so then it's a kasha from the ration that says you only need an amud. With stadin katani. You learn it with stadin, right? That's a common answer that the Gemara says when you have a stira. So what it meant is, in the beginning, it has to be enough to go around the yard, and at the end, it needs to be enough to go around in a circle. Right? Meaning, when the Brisa said that you just need enough to go around the wood, it was lav dafka. That's meaning that's the minimum amount that you need, and at the end, you should have even more. That's first teretz. Rashi Amar Kitanya b'Sefer Torah. That's by a Sefer Torah. Sefer Torah, as we're going to see in a minute, Sefer Torah has to have two poles, right? A nach, some hold doesn't need a pole at all, and some holds it needs one pole. Nobody holds it needs 2 poles. But a Sefer Torah, even though I think a lot of nachs nowadays do have 2 poles, right? The ones in Shayoshu for sure have 2 poles, right? So Kitanei, the Sefer Torah has 2. Yeah, sorry. So the Sefer Torah has 2. So Mamela, you only need enough to go around each one of the amudim or the atzechai. Kidetani, like we learned advice. All svarim should be rolled from the beginning to the end, and some are goyrus the opposite, from the end to the beginning, which l'chara makes more sense, right? So that you could open up and start from there. Yeah, go ahead, quick. Are you allowed to sleep under food or over food?
I'm on top of the bed.
Okay, it's fine. Yes.
So water?
Everything, as long as it's sealed. Yeah. I guess he doesn't get the halacha texts. Right. Again, our gears is that they're supposed to be rolled from the beginning to the end. There's other gears that it's from the end to the beginning. Sefer Torah niglal and Isa, and a Sefer Torah should be rolled in the middle. And you make an amud on each end. That's the way they did their Sifrei Torah. Rashi says that they rolled them in the middle. I don't know exactly what that means. Does that mean that when you buy Devarim, so you roll the whole thing back to the middle? When are they doing this? Anybody have any idea? I don't know. Right? I mean, that's a lot of rolling, and they didn't have those automatic rollers that the shuls have now. That you're always supposed to keep the Sefer Torah rolled to the middle. Yeah. Okay. Tanabon. Ain't always in Sefer Torah.
What's it saying that when you finish leaning, roll it to the middle every Shabbos?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it means. Does it mean initially? I don't know. We don't have any of the cipher. Are the cipher on?
Don't they usually roll it after you finish the Sefer Torah to the middle, like after you finish writing it?
Do they?
I think they do.
They don't roll it to bracious?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Parrots, you're saying they deliver it in the middle?
Maybe
that's
you
what it
finish
means.
writing the Sefer Torah and they finish it and you let it dry, and then I think they may roll it to the middle and then wrap it up, and then you dance with it.
That would
no,
make more sense than to have it all on one side.
yes, yeah, that does make sense. Maybe that's what you do. I don't know. All right, well, the Seifrim are not on, so somebody text them to get on. Elio and Gershon, they're the Seifrim. Okay, so turn about it. Ain't nice and Sefer Torah loy orka. Yes, this is a very interesting Gemara here. You can't make a Sefer Torah its length more than its hakefai. Meaning, basically, the Sefer Torah should be a square. You ever see a square Sefer Torah? Mommy's comes close, Peretz, but right, or Peretz or Sefer Torah, whoever. It's not, so you can't make a Sefer Torah where its length is more than how fat it is. Hakefai, meaning its circumference. Meaning when it's rolled up, and it shouldn't be more than its length. Shalu was Rebbe, Shir Sefer Torah Bakama. So what would be the Shir? What is the Shir Sefer Torah?
How is this possible?
It's not possible, that which is basically what the Gemara is going to say. It's really not possible. Maybe if you have a very, very thin cloth. Well, let's see. So he says, somewhere of Shir Sefer Torah Bakama. What is the Shir Sefer Torah? Meaning, I guess it depends on how high you make the letters. If you make them really small, then it's fine. My mother has a small Sefer Torah. It's almost, the truth is, it's almost square. Parrots, no?
I would say it's a little smaller than.
Probably taller than, yeah, it's taller than, but it's close. I mean, a regular Sefer Torah is nowhere close. Right? So, Shir Sefer Torah B'kama, Amar Lehen, B'gvil, Shisha. It should be on Gvil. So, Gvil is parchment that's not finished. All they did is remove the hair. And that's it. They left everything else there. So, it's very thick. So, if you write on that thick a parchment, then it would need to be 6 tfachim high in order for it to be a square. Okay, but klaf kapakama. How about klaf? So klaf is much more. It's finished. Right. So then it's much thinner. So he said, "Any idea?" He said, "I don't know." So I guess David, he was just as perplexed as you. Yeah. Rav Huna, Kasav.
So practically, we don't follow this.
We do not
Are
follow.
the Sephardi Sefer Torahs more square?
Sephardi Sefer Torah is essentially the same thing as an Ashkenazi. It's just in a metal. It's just in a.
That's
it's
it?
different, as far as I know.
It's just okay. It's not bigger.
I don't know.
It's fat. Okay.
Not bigger.
Not bigger.
No, it's just a different ksav. It's velish.
Right. So it's a different ksav. Right.
It's the same size.
Language. Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's just
Anyway.
in a huge case.
What?
It's just in a huge case.
Right. Right. Yeah.
When the Gemara
Okay.
says 6 tvachim, is that measuring like one section, or I mean, it's not the whole Sefer Torah, right?
Notice, what do you mean? The height of the Sefer Torah should be 6 tvachim. Based on
Yeah,
the width of the
but-
cloth. Based on the width of the cloth, you'll get a square Sefer Torah if you make it 6 tvachim high.
If it's 6
How
tvachim, then what about the width? What about the width? 6 tvachim. It needs to be way more than that, right?
Well, it is 6 tvachim rolled up. Rolled up 6
No.
tvachim.
The whole
That's
Sefer Torah.
No, I mean that's a lot.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't make sense. That's why we don't understand what it's saying.
Because the
But
measurement.
saying the height is 6 tefachim. You don't have the height of the width. The width is rolled out. You have to write the whole Sefer Torah.
Yeah, but
Correct. 6 tvachim is when it's rolled.
The height. Right. 6 tefachim is the height.
No, but it needs to
height
be
is consistent.
square. It needs
right,
to be
that's what
square.
Rashi
So
says, and it says Bekama, it's Arka Mibaila and Bekavil, and it's 6 tvachim, which is the measurement for it to be Nigmar B'Shisha Tvachim Hekef. I'm trying to follow. Where's the
it's
width?
it's hard to understand.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's with the thick. With the thin, Rabbi didn't know the answer to that one. Right? Okay,
Right.
so then we have some strange stories, right? Scary stories, actually. So Rav Huna Kosav Shivin Sifrei Derais. So that's one scary story. Rav Huna wrote 70 Sifrei Torah. V'loi isrami le elachad, and he only got one that actually met this requirement, where it was square. Rav Acha bar Yaakov Kosav Chad.
70 seems like a lot. How long did it take him to write these?
70 Sifrei Torah, yeah, 70 Sifrei Torah is a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, especially based on the next Gemara, but yeah, I don't know. But he only got one square one. So it's interesting because you can cut and paste. Sifrei Torah don't have to be written in order. So if he realized that he was off from his squares, then he could take and attach it to a different one.
Maybe that was the last one.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay, I don't know. So Rav Acha bar Yaakov Kosav Chad Amshecha de'igli v'srami le. He wrote it on a mashre da'egli from a calf skin, and it came out. It came out that it was square. Yovu be Rabbanan enayu v'noch nafshe. This is the hard part of the Gemara to understand. The Rabbanan put their eyes on him, and he died. So this gets into the whole ayin hara thing that we had at the beginning of the Masechta, and we had in Bava Kama. It's there's a Chazon Ish that explains it here, but I don't have a Chazon Ish here to look it up, and I doubt I would understand it anyways. But it doesn't mean Chas v'Shalom that they wanted to. They had a problem with what he did, right? I don't know. It's I don't know. Yeah.
We're jealous that he was able to do it.
Did they not believe him?
No, they saw it.
So I'm saying, so what was the issue, that he could do such a thing?
Yeah, basically. Right? I don't know. It sounds like it's jealousy, but it can't be jealousy.
Why?
I'm saying, what are these babies?
Can I cipher him?
I'm saying one person, right? It doesn't say cipher, it says the Rabbana.
Right, I'm saying that kind of jealousy. Whatever, a guy knows how to learn better than you, then you're jealous of him. And then when you're jealous of him, it opens him up to a harsher din.
It's hard to say that. Right? Okay. Amar le Rabbana le Rav Hamnuna, Kasav Rav Ami Daled Meya Sifrei Torah. Rav Ami wrote 400 Sifrei Torah. Amar lahu. So he said to them, Dilma, I mean, it can't be that a person can write 400 Sifrei Torah in his life. Amar lahu, he said back to them, Dilma Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe Kasav. Maybe he wrote Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe. Right? Meaning, so, and Taisa says that's called Torah. In Sukkah it says a kid whose father knows how to teach him Torah should teach him Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe. So basically, what it means, what happened here is that somebody else wrote the Sifrei Torah, and he wrote the pasuk of Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe. So mainly they looked at it like they made it like as if he wrote all 400 Sifrei Torah. This next one is actually from a Mishnah Bikurim. Amalei Rabba le Rav Zera, not the Rav Yanai Arba Mea Karmi. Rav Yanai planted 400 vineyards. Amalei said Dilma Shtaim Keneged Shtaim v'Achas Yotze Zonav. That's from the Mishnah Bikurim towards the beginning, right? It says it's not possible for somebody to plant 400 vineyards himself. What it must mean is that we know that the minimum amount of a vineyard is five vines. Right, which we said is 2 on top of 2 and then 1 to the side. If you have that, that's considered a vineyard. So it could be that he went into people's vineyards and he made a vineyard within a vineyard, and that it is possible for him to make 400 of them. But it doesn't mean that he actually made 400 full vineyards. Okay, now this is from the longest kashas you'll ever get in a Gemara. This kasha takes up half an amud. So Meisvei, right? Again, we said that if you write on a klaf, that's the thick klaf that's not finished, actually gvil, it's not fair to call it klaf, gvil, right? If you write it on gvil, so then you have a potential to get a sefer Torah that's 6 tvachim wide when it's rolled up, if you make it 6 tvachim high. So Meisvei, now the Gemara is going to ask on that. Aron, Shasa Moshe, so we know the Aron that Moshe made, Amasayim v'chetzi archa, is 2.5 amas long, v'ama v'chetzi rachva, and an amma and a half wide, v'ama v'chetzi kombasoi, and 1.5 high. So 1.5 amas by 1.5 by 2.5. Ba'ama bashisha tvachim. And how big were the amas? The amas are 6 tvachim, right? We know there's a machlokes whether an amma is. Is an amma 5 tvachim? Or is it 6? Right? So now the Gemara goes through the math and brings a machlokes of exactly how the math works. So the luchas, archan were in the aron. They were 6 tvachim long, barachman shisha, and 6 tvachim wide, ba'avian shloisha, and there were 3 thick. Munachas keneged arka shel aron, and they put them in lengthwise into the aron. Kama luchas eichlos ba'aron, which is a very interesting terminology. How much do the luchas eat up of the aron? Meaning, how much room does it eat up? Shneim asa tvachim, so it takes up 12 tvachim, right? Because there's 2 of them. Nishtayru sham shloisha tvachim. So you have 3 tvachim left over. Tzemi and tefach chetzia l'kaisel zeh v'chetzia l'kaisel zeh. So you have a tefach left for the thickness of the wall of each side of the aron. Nishtayru sham shnei tvachim. So what are we left with? 2 tvachim. Sheben sefer Torah munach, and the sefer Torah will be put into. There's 2 tvachim of space to put the sefer Torah into. Shenemar.
What about the mun?
I don't know about the mun. I don't know about the mun.
Let's see.
I don't know.
We didn't say anything about mun.
We didn't say anything with the nace.
We didn't say anything about mun yet.
Gemara doesn't say anything about the mun. Correct. The Gemara says other things coming up on Amud Beis, but it doesn't say anything about mun. As Shenemar, ein ba'aron rak shnei luchas ha'avanim asher haniach sham Moshe. In the aron, all there was 2 luchas, right? That Moshe gave. My ein ba'aron rak. What does it mean? There's only an aron only. Miyut achar miyut. That's a double negative, right? It's a miyut achar miyut. Ein ba'aron rak. So miyut achar miyut, when you have a exclusion after an exclusion, vein miyut achar miyut ela l'rabbis. A miyut achar miyut we know comes to include something, which comes to include what? Sefer Torah. Shemunach ba'aron. It comes to include a sefer Torah that's resting in the aron. So you see that there were the luchos and the sefer Torah. So now, okay, so that's for the length. Pirnasta aron la'arka. So now you figured out how the aron fit to the length. Teo parnas aron l'rachbas. So now let's go figure out the width. So kama luchas eichlos ba'aron. How much do the luchas take widthwise in the aron? Shisha tvachim, 6 tvachim. Nishtayru sham shloisha tvachim. Yeah, 3 tvachim left over. Tzemi and tefach. Yeah, take out a tefach chetzi l'kaitzel zeh v'chetzi l'kaitzel zeh for the thickness of the walls. Nishtayru sham shnei tvachim. You left the 2 tvachim. So you have the 2 tvachim, so that it should be easy for the sefer Torah to go. I mean, you don't want to have to wedge that sefer Torah in there.
But when was it used? When was it used to take this out?
I don't want to. When did they take out the sefer Torah?
Once a year.
Once a year, yeah, on Yom Kippur.
So if you had to nudge it out a little bit once a year, what would be the biggest deal? But okay,
what's that? I think on Yom Kippur.
The sefer Torah was only 2 tvachim.
What?
The sefer Torah was only 2 tvachim.
Well, let's see how the Gemara goes, right?
But so far, that's what we're saying, right?
What?
So far, we're saying the sefer Torah was 2 tvachim.
Yes. So, anyways, this is Shitas Rameir. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ba'ama bas chamisha tvachim. He says we're not talking about a 6 tvachim amma, we're talking about the 5 tvachim amma, right? Which means that the aron was a lot smaller. Luchas archan shisha urachman shisha v'avian shleisha. The luchas was 6 tvachim long, 6 tvachim wide, and 3 tvachim thick. Monachas ba'arka shel aron. It was placed in lengthwise into the aron. Kama luchas archlas ba'aron. How much is it eating? Shnei masa tvachim, 12 tvachim. Nishtayr sham chatzi tefach. You have a half tefach left over. Etzba l'kaisel zeh, etzba l'kaisel zeh. That's what we're saying in the Mishnah in Klayim that we just said. So here, according to him, it was only a finger. It was only the thickness of a finger, the walls of the aron. So pinas the aron la'arka. So now you figured out the aron for the length. Say you parnas aron l'rachbei. How about for the width? Kama luchas. That should be eichlos. How much does it take up? How much does it eat out of the aron? Shisha tvachim. 6 tvachim. The shtayr sham tefach umechza. You have a tefach and a half. Tzemehen chatzi tefach. You subtract chatzi tefach etzba umechza l'kaisel zeh etzba umechza l'kaisel zeh. The shtayr sham tefach. So you're left with the tefach. Shabai amudin oimdin, and that's where the amudin were oimdin. Now, the amudim were silver. There were 2 silver poles that were similar to the Rashi says similar to the amud of a Sefer Torah. That were put length widthwise, and the luchas were in between them. Right. So what does this go to? Where does this come from? Shenemar Apirion Asalei Hamelach Shloima Me'atzei Levanim. Shloima made himself like an Apirion is like a fancy wagon, but he made it out of wood. Atzei Levanim Amud of Asa, and then he made Amud of Kesef made out of silver. Rifidasa Izav, and the back of it was gold. Merkavte Argomon, and the seat part of it was made out of Argomon, which is purple. Yeah, so that's a mushal for referring to the Mishkan. And the silver is talking about went through the Aron. Right? The Argus Shigur by Plishtim Duran Lekei Yisrael. And then there was a box that the Plishtim sent as a present to Hashem. Meaning the story there, Munach B'Tzila, that was on the side of it. That was on the side of the Aron. The story goes that the Plishtim stole the Aron, and anybody that took care of it, or they kept passing it on to each other, and then they died out, and they had all sorts of tzara. So they realized that they got to get rid of this Aron. So they made this present, and they put it on to the Aron, and they put the 2 cows. They just let them go, and they, with a nace, made it back without being led by anybody. That's the story. So then they had this present from the Plishtim. Shenema ves klei azov asher hashivim loy hashivaisim loy asham tasimu ba'argas mitzido v'shalachtam ma'aseh v'halach. Right. So they put these gold wood kalim, and they gave it back because they were trying to do tshuva, and they sent it there. Now, why we have to decide that we have to keep a present from the Plishtim who stole the Aron, I have no idea. Maybe as a zikaron for the nace, I'm not sure. All of Sefer Torah munach, and then they put the Sefer Torah on that. Shenemer lakuchas the Sefer Torah azeh, the samtem oisim mitzad Aron bris Hashem, and the Sefer Torah was put on the side of the Aron. Mitzadhu munach v'loy b'soicha. It was put on the side. It wasn't inside. Right. So this is a different shita. Right, Rabbi Yehuda holds that the Sefer Torah was not put inside. Rameir holds it was put inside. Rabbi Yehuda says it was put on the outside, on the side. Right? Umani mekayim ein ba'aron rak. So then we just said that the ein ba'aron rak, that double negative, is mashma, a positive, which we said means that the Sefer Torah went inside the Aron. So what does Rabbi Yehuda do with that pasuk? So the rabbis on Beis shivrei lucha shumanachim ba'aron. It's coming to include the broken luchas that they also put into the Aron. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu broke the luchas, so they were placed into the Aron. So now here we go. Now here finally we get to the kasha. Bottom line is till now we have machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and Rameir whether the Sefer Torah was put into the Aron or not, and how much of the Aron had if it's a 6 tvachim or 5 tvachim that we're dealing with, and how big was the luchas that went into the Aron, etc., etc. Fine. But if you say that the circumference of the Torah is 6 tvachim, michti, kol sheyesh bekefa shloisha tvachim yesh by roichav tefach from pi, right? Everybody remembers math. Pi is basically, we know that from Yam Shel Shlomo, right? But Shlomo Melech made this huge pool. So if it's the circumference, which is the circle, is 3 to 1 ratio from the diameter from going across. So if you're saying that a Sefer Torah is 6 tefachim in a circle, so that means it's going to be 2 tefachim. Why? Right? And now we know the Sefer Torah is rolled to the middle, like we said. So then, nafish lam betray tefcha ravcha de beni beni. You're going to have more than 2 tefach in between each one of these rolls. Right? So betray pushri hechi yosef. How are you putting that into 2 tefachim? Meaning, if you have 2 rolls of a Sefer Torah, and it's at the minimum 2 tefachim, besides for the space that's in between each side of the roll, right? Again, a Sefer Torah is rolled from both. So you have you have a little space in between. So then how is it possible that you can fit this Sefer Torah inside with the Aron? It's not possible. So my answer is not a Gemara has rapid fire back and forth here. Amar Rav Acha Bar Yaakov, Sefer Ezra, l'tchilasahu niglal. Ezra, the Sefer Torah that belonged to Ezra, which is the Sefer Torah that they put in there, was not like our Sefer Torah. It was totally rolled to one side. It was sort of like the Haftarah. Right? So the Mela, it didn't have this issue. So Gemara says, Vakati, Trey betray Hechi Yosef. Even so let's say it was 2 Tvachim Mamish. How do you put something that's 2 Tvachim into a space of 2 Tvachim? Right? It doesn't, it's not going to fit. So Rav Ashi, the Karach Beipurta, the Karach Hillel, the art scroll has a picture of this. I don't know if I would have understood it without the art scroll. Meaning, that's not a hit at Rashi, Chas v'Shalom. Right? But basically, what is the last circle goes totally around the Sefer Torah. Meaning, you wrap it up, and then you take that last one, and it goes totally around. Right? So Mamela, it's a little smaller.
I'm looking at the diagram. I still don't understand it.
It takes up less space because it's one less round, I think.
Only on top.
Yeah. See, Rashi says, I mean, obviously Rashi is, you don't just need the article, I'm saying, but the Rashi says that they didn't roll the whole thing. They left a little bit that they rolled, meaning sort of, let's say it was Parshas B'Sais HaBracha. It was B'Sais HaBracha. There was only a little bit left of Klaf, and then they made one big circle around it. For some reason, that takes up less room.
Rashi, they put it on the top, no?
They put it on the top, yes. So meaning Mamela made it less than 10. Meaning instead of putting it side by side, that's what you say.
Right, you're saying it didn't go the full two
Right, so it didn't have.
They just put it on top of it.
Right, so then l'chayra height wise it was more. So then, right. But I guess they tilted it sideways, so then it fit. Whatever. Okay. Now going back to the previous machlokes, Rabbi Yehuda held that the Sefer Torah is not in the Aron; it's on the side of the Aron. So that's only after the Plishtim. What happened before the Plishtim? Rabbi Yehuda, Mekame Delesi Argas, before they brought this present from the Plishtim, Sefer Torah Hechi Havi Yosef. So where did it sit? So the Gemara says, Dafahu Nafik Mine. They had, the Aron actually had a piece of wood, a shelf sticking out of it. The Yosef Ilava Sefer Torah. They put the Sefer Torah on top of that shelf. Okay, fine.
And they just ditched that shelf when the Plishtim sent the chest. They just ditched that shelf.
Must be, yeah. Yeah. I don't understand it, but yes, that's what it seems.
How much would that go for nowadays?
What, the shelf?
Yeah, the shelf. Yeah, they're not using the shelf anymore. They got rid of it.
Or the schus to send a present to the Mishkan and change the entire thing of the Aron. Yeah. Yes, I don't know. For a mayor, Hai Mitzad Aron Ma'avle. So Rabbi Yehuda was basing it from the pasuk Mitzad Aron, on the side of the Aron. So what does Rabbi Meir, who holds the Sefer Torah is inside the Aron, what does he do with it? So Mitzad Aron Ma'avle, Humi Ba'ilei, the Misnach Le Mitzad is talking about where you need to put the Sefer Torah next to the Luchas. V'loi Misnach Beini Luchei, and don't put them in between the Luchas. U'la'olam right? But it was always inside, but on the side. Meaning it was you don't put it in between the luchas. You always had it on the side of the luchas. Okay, but Rameir Amudim Hechi Havakaime. So Rameir didn't say anything about the poles, the silver poles. So how did the silver poles? Where'd they go? Mavroi, they were on the outside. They weren't inside. But okay, Rameir Shibri Luchas the Menachem Ba'ara Minale. The Shivrei Luchas that are put in the Aron, because we had Rabbi Yehuda said the Shivrei Luchas were in there. Fine. How does Rameir know that the broken Luchas were in there? Nafkalei midu Rafuna, Damar Rafuna, Maita Siva Shernikra Shem, Shernikra Shem Hashem Tzvakos Yoshev Akruvim Allah. Right? It was called the name of Hashem. Yoshev Akruvim Allah. Malamek Shaluchas Shivrei Luchas Menachem Baron. The Shem tells you that there were two things in there. There was a set of the both sets of luchas, the broken and the whole luchas. The idach, what does he do with shame? The idach meaning Rabbi Yehuda. Humi baila like Rabbi Yochanan, Dam Rabbi Yochanan, Amram Shem ben Yochai, Melamed Hashem b'chol kinuyav Menachem Baruch. They wrote down Hashem's name. We know that there's a whole lot of names for Hashem, right? There's Kel, Elikai, Elikim, Elikei, Shakai, Tzvakos, plus the 40-letter name. What is it? 42, right? Okay, whatever it is, all the names they wrote down.
This was written on a cloth?
I think so. What else would it be written on?
I don't know. Just so it was written on a cloth and put in there.
That's what I think. That's what I think. I have no idea. That's what it sounded like to me. Right? I mean, the stomach was not on an iPad. That much I figured out. Right? I think. Right? Okay, so then the other sheet, the Rameir, he also needs the extra shame that they did this. And Achanami, so we say that's true. Okay, so then so if he's saying the word shame is there to put the names on, so then the Shivrei Luchas that are in the Aron, where do you know? How does he know? Nafkalemi, the Tani of Yosef, the Tani of Yosef, Asher Shibarta. That Hashem talks to Moshe Rabbeinu. Right, it was supposed to say Asher Hayu al Luchas or Asher Shibarta v'samtem ba'aron. Melamed shal Luchas v'shivrei Luchas menachem ba'aron. So the pasuk says beferish that the Luchas and the broken Luchas are put into the Aron. Ve'idach. Now we get to Peretz, one of Peretz's favorite lines in Shas. Ve'idach. He needs it for Reish Lakish. What does it mean that you broke? Hashem said to Moshe, that you broke it. Meaning the pasuk's not saying, we don't need a pasuk to say that they put the broken pieces with the pasuk is saying Asher Shibarta, is that Hashem is saying Yi Yasher, right? When you say Yasher Koyach, it's really Yi Yasher Koyach. Right? I don't know if you pronounce that middle yud, but it's Yisha, whatever. It's not Yasher, that's for sure, right? Hashem is giving a Yashakayach to Moshe Rabbeinu for breaking the luchas. Okay, now we get into the all this. Yeah.
We explained where the Sefer Torah had to go to according to Meir.
The cipher is on now. We needed you before.
Oh, good morning. We don't know where you. We thought you were doing okay. No talking today.
I deliberately missed before. I don't understand this tomorrow. I've learned it a bunch.
Because we were counting on you being on there, but I guess you copped out. All right.
Wait, Elio's not on either?
Correct.
No, yeah.
Correct.
Well, let's ask him the one thing about when you finish the Torah.
Yeah, you guys
roll
planned
to the
this
middle?
together.
That's the one shiloh we had. What does it mean that they roll it to the middle? What does that mean? You roll the Sefer Torah to the middle. When?
So I always understood that it meant Ashkenazi as opposed to Sephardi, but I'm pretty sure I'm wrong.
Somebody wanted to say that, Chilip, and we was like,
I've always learned it like that, but I still don't understand it.
But when you
That's what it means when you roll a whole clock round it, it makes it round rather than two rounds. So it's easier to slide it somewhere.
When you finish the Sefer Torah, do you roll to the middle for the first time when you finish writing it? Well, you don't have to necessarily.
You don't have to.
So what does it mean?
It sounds like it's just an explanation of the Beis Amudim versus Amud Echad. That it's not halacha. You have to roll it to the middle. It's just in contrasting versus one. You can't roll and not be in the middle because it only has one. Amud. The Sefer Torah, you could. So it sounds like from Rabbeinu Gershon.
I mean, yeah, I hear.
It's a little bit of a not such a good answer, but I mean.
Wait, one is for Navi, right? Two is for Sefer Torah, one is for Navi.
If that, yeah.
Because the Sefer Torah is bigger than a Navi. If you want to wrap it around, not to have any of the writing uncovered when it's finished or started, then you need two amudim.
Right. I don't know. Okay, let's finish the dot first.
But where did they put the Shivrei Luchas?
Where? I don't know.
Yeah.
On top.
Yes, it was on top of the full Luchas.
I don't know. There was a little space with all the
on top of the kosher one.
Also, Shivrei takes a lot more space than a full one. No, broken things take more room.
Less space.
Don't they usually take more room?
No, you can fit them into cracks. Wherever there's a crack, you can put a piece.
Well, the question was.
But even so, according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's only an etzah and a half on each side. There's no Shivrei Luchas going down the side. They're going right on top of the full Luchas, the second Luchas.
I don't understand. The whole base of Migdash space-wise. So everybody fit into the Azara and Shalosh Golem. The current Pesach, everyone came and did it.
That's not the discussion now.
Thank you. Thank you, David, very much. The whole thing doesn't make sense. And now we're picking on one item. The whole thing is Nasim.
Naftali, so Naftali wants to go with the Nace. Naftali wants to cop out and just say the whole thing's a
Aaron
Nace.
Horowitz would have a blast with this. Now you're asking?
Correct. I can't disagree with Naftali, but
it doesn't say that about the
try.
Kalim anywhere. The airspace of the Beis Hamikdash was with Nace, not the Kalim.
You're missing night activity. Let's go.
You're just creating a new night.
The Aron carried
What's
itself.
the night activity?
Whether the Aron carried itself.
I have no idea what the night activity is.
Or carried the people that claimed to carry it. Well, it wasn't Nasim. The whole thing was Nasim.
Yeah, but we're told what the Nisim were. You're creating a new one now.
Okay. Not creating a new one. I'm not picking on this one to ask. The whole
there
thing.
There are prices that say what the Nisim were. There's no brisa that says that everything went into the Aron. Whatever you wanted to throw in.
We know that they had more than this Gemara mentioned. It's brought down that they put some of the mud in the Aron also.
That's in Cincinnet Shalman.
I think it's in Parshas B'Shalach.
How big is it?
I
don't know. Oh, let's finish up before the island has to leave us a few more lines. Then we could turn up on it. Even though it's a new subject. Sidron Shel Nevi'im, what's the order of Nevi'im? Yeshua, Shoftim, Shmuel, Melachim, Yirmiyah, Yecheskel, Yeshaya, Shneim Asr. Right? That Shneim Asr is like we discussed at the beginning of the Trey Asr. That's really one sefer. It's made up of not the Shvatim, right? It's made up of 12 different small, like each one's a perek, 2 prakim, whatever it is. So Gemara asks now in the order. Michti, Hasheya, Kadim. Hasheya is first. Tichsiv, meaning he was first. Tichsiv, Tchila Stiber Hashem by Hasheya. Hashem spoke to Hasheya first. Tichim him Hasheya Diber Tchila. Did Hashem really speak to Hasheya first? There were many Nevi'im. He was the first of the 4 Nevi'im who said Nevuah at that particular time. Right, which Rashi says is Uzziah, Yosam, Achaz, and Chizki. Eluhain, Hasheya, V'Yeshaya, Amos, and Micha. I'm sorry. That's 1 second. Rashi was saying. No, those were the kings. I'm sorry. Those were the kings. Rashi, those were the kings. Then after the kings, they were no longer kings. Then leadership was given over to Nevi'im. And they were Hasheya, Yeshaya, Amos, and Micha. Okay, so it says, why didn't you put Hasheya first? So my answer is Kivintus, because he was first. Kivintus, since his Nevi'us was the same time as Chagi, Zechariah, and Malachi. Chagi, Zechariah, and Malachi, Soif Nevi'im Hava. And they were at the end, so Chashav Le Badayu, so that's why he puts him together. We put Hasheya together with them. So Gemara says, why don't they just write Hasheya as a separate Navi? Right? Why did they make Hasheya part of the Trei Asa? Right? So the Gemara says, since Hasheya is very small, it's only 1 parak, right? Is it 1 parak? I don't know. I don't remember. Anyways, so the Bela might get lost. If they just leave it as 1 parak, it might get lost. So then we're asked, Michti Yeshaya Kadam Yirmiyah Yecheskel. Yeshaya was before Yirmiyah and Yecheskel. The Kadmi Yeshaya Bereisha. So why don't we put Yeshaya first? Which it is, right? In our order it is, isn't it? In our Nachs.
In our order it is first.
It is, right? Yeah.
In our order, Yeshaya comes after Melachim Beis.
Right. So that's basically that's the
Yeshaya,
Gemara.
Yomi, Yecheskel.
So that's basically like the Gemara's kasha. So my answer is Kivan de Melachim Seifich Churbana. Since Melachim is at the end of the Churban, the Yirmiyah Kulei Churbana, and Yirmiyah is all about the Churban. The Yecheskel Reishi Churbana, the Sefer Nechemta, and the Yecheskel is the beginning of it is Churban, and the end is Nechama. The Yeshaya Kulei Nechmasa, and Yeshaya is all about Nechama. Samchinim Churbana LeChurbana. We'd rather put Churban to Churban and Nechmasa to Nechmasa, or Nechemta to Nechemta, whichever. Meaning, we want to put things that are Nechama for Klai Yisrael together with Nechama. We want to put Churban stuff next to Churban. Right?
How can the Gemara say that Yeshaya is on Nechama? Chazon Yeshio is in Yeshaya.
Right. So I think somebody, one of the Mefarshim asks that. We needed you here. You've been away, yeah.
Yeah.
The Marsha. It's a Marsha. Marsha asked you, Mechamed to the Marsha.
Nice.
So, one second, I'm looking at the Marsha. Right, Marsha says, Lav Dafka, it's the whole thing. Very good though. It's not Dafka the whole thing, it's most of it. We go Ruba Kakula. We say Ruba Kakula. Right? Which is, again, I don't know how you understand that by placing it in the proper order or not placing it in the proper order. Either way, okay, we'll stop over there. Now you can fight out the Sefer Torah thing, but let's say a Tillim before the other one goes off. Good Gimel. Lametzeach.